Hello, everyone, and welcome to this community chats of December 1st. Yes, it's December 1st, the holidays are here, and time also to talk about holidays and the blues, because a lot of people can get a little bit down during this time of the year, especially people who are suffering from a disease, a chronic disease, they have a lot of problems maybe, but also those who take care of people who are sick, and especially families, if you're seeing somebody going through something hard, it gets hard for you as well. So for that reason, and because we want everybody to have happy holidays, we have Dr. DeLuca today. And Dr. DeLuca is a psychologist who's going to be having a very interactive session with us today. So Dr. DeLuca, tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going to happen today.
Okay, sure. So yes, my PhD is actually in health psychology, which examines how the thoughts, beliefs, expectations, assumptions we have, our personalities, how all of that interacts with health and illness. And I'm also a mental health counselor. So I work with people who are struggling with chronic illness, people dealing with depression and anxiety. And this is a time of year that can bring a lot up because they're so jam-packed with expectations that things need to be a certain way. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can care for yourself to help keep your mood maybe a little more stable, to protect yourself if you need to give yourself extra care because of a particular challenge or illness you're going through right now, or the exhaustion that you might have from caring for someone else. So we're going to learn a little bit about the impact of stress and how decreasing it is good for us, and some good strategies to help you bring it down to a level that you feel more comfortable and feel like you can maybe enjoy more of the holidays rather than worry about them.
And my feeling is that we can be either in two situations, right? In the situation of the patient or the person who's going through some health issues, but you can also be the caregiver. And as caregivers, I feel that we suffer a lot as well, because we might be losing somebody we love, or we might be willing to take the best care of somebody we love. And sometimes it's hard to do. So this will promises to be a very interesting and very nice session. So
yeah, I mean, the holidays, we assume for a lot of people they are a very happy time and often involve celebrations with family. And I think particularly if you are a woman, you were in charge of taking care of those and setting up and planning and buying and cooking and preparing. And if you're having challenges either with your own illness or with caring for someone else, you just can't do the same amount that you did before. And it can really get at our sense of identity of like, I'm the matriarch of this family. I'm the one who usually makes sure all this happens. And it can bring a lot of sadness that you're not able to. So from either end, holidays can be a challenge. Acceptance can go a long way in thinking about, well, how can I make this a little bit special if I can, or how can I cope with that? It's just this year is going to be different. And how do I move forward with that?
So Dr. DeLuca, you have a presentation, so feel free, you can share your screen.
Okie doke. All right. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So like I said, today I'm going to give you a few strategies to help bring your stress down a notch during the holidays. And I'd like to start by asking people, what's one thing that you like about holidays, and what's one thing that stresses you out? And if you want to put that in the chat, and Sandra, if you can read those out as people put it in the chat, because I can't see the chat while I'm doing the screen share.
Yeah, perfect. I will.
So one thing that
I'll tell you right away what stresses me. One, buying gifts, and two, I don't know where to go if it's going to be my family. his family, like, that always
Some
stresses me out because
negotiation.
everybody's pulling.
Right, a
Being
lot
able
of,
to gather with family members,
right, so that's a
getting
plus.
gifts and shopping. I think that's the worst.
Mhm.
That's why I love Thanksgiving, I have to tell you, because it's all about food and I love cooking. I don't have to buy gifts. Any other answers?
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, certainly, being with family has a lot of pluses, but at the same time, being with family can involve a lot of diplomacy and negotiation and relationships with people whose personality maybe you wouldn't otherwise match up with. And sometimes people who are dealing with an illness or even caring for others have to deal with the limitations of energy, that there is just so much energy that we have and that we can put out there. And this creates a lot of stress, and stress matters because when you're under high stress, it impacts you psychologically and physically. High stress decreases your ability to focus. It impacts your memory. It can bring anxiety. And it can bring more intense emotions. It makes your well, of resources a little bit lower. And so your skin gets thinner and you react more severely to something that may have otherwise, you were able to let go. And high stress also impacts our health in two important ways. One is directly that stress chemicals that get released by our body, they decrease how well our immune system is working. And so that makes a big difference in how susceptible you are to viruses and things going around. And when you're under high stress, you know how that feels. You get that heart racing, and that your breathing can go up. All that wear and tear on the arteries, that ultimately has an impact as well, eventually. When way back when we lived on the savannah and seeing a lion activated that flight or fight response, that was very healthy. So we could get out of there and save ourselves. But now in modern times, we activate that system for all kinds of reasons that are not helpful. That running away or freezing, neither one of those strategies help, but we still get the physiological results of that wear and tear on the arteries in the heart. Stress indirectly hurts people because it makes them less likely to carry out healthy behaviors. When you're stressed, you might want comfort food more, high fat food, high carbs. You may put off exercising, say, I'm just too busy, I'm too overwhelmed. It's much more comforting to me to just sit here and maybe watch a TV show. And you may do more behaviors that are bad for your health. Smoking, especially for women, the nicotine of smoke is even more of a stress reducer than it is for men. So that's one behavior that's not good for you. And you may want to end up drinking alcohol or using other substances if your stress gets really elevated. So directly and indirectly, stress can hurt you. And so today we're going to go over a few ways to reduce feeling stressed out. But I'd like to hear from the group first. What are some obstacles you think there are to doing things that will help you de-stress and take care of yourself? What keeps people from doing those things?
And Dr. DeLuca, we have more responses to your prior question.
Okay.
It could be stressful, not knowing what to expect and responses, losing a loved one and having to face the holiday without that person. Another person says, love the traditions. Now in this era of virus, sometimes the stress of ensuring that all persons are healthy before we can get together.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and then
do I ask everybody to take a COVID test before they come over? Will they be offended if I do? Should I keep the windows even though grandma says she's really cold? Yes, absolutely.
And we have one comment. it is the time of reflection of your blessings.
Right, that's a huge plus about the holidays, that it does give you opportunity to think, okay, what is good? What is important? What is valuable in my life? And to reflect on that and feel the goodness of what is there. So thank you for that. So wondering, were there any responses about what would keep someone from taking care of themselves during the holidays? What could be an obstacle to that sort of self-care?
Lack of time.
Lack
Always.
of time. Mhm.
And I feel that as women, is you just said it, we take more care of others than we take of ourselves.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes I feel that a way of taking care of ourselves is taking care of others. I don't know. Or at least that's what I want to believe.
Well, yeah, you make a good point there, that if we see an important part of our identity as someone who cares for others, if we nurture ourselves, we have more to give. So that absolutely, I think, has merit, that, your first instinct may be, I need to do for other people. But when you do that to a really intense degree, you run out of fuel yourself. And so if you can take 20 minutes here or there and do things that give you joy, give you relaxation, then it puts you in a position to be able to give more and to give without resentment, because sometimes all those responsibilities can make you feel resentment. Okay.
Here we have a comment. One of our obstacles is that we must be in control and forget that the only person we can control is ourselves.
That's a very good point. For active people, for so many people, feeling like we can control things is important to our concept of ourself as an effective person. And to let some of that control go can be very threatening. So I'd like to do an exercise just to start with everyone, because that sense that I am important enough, that I should be cared for too, is going to take you a long way in making habits of doing things that will reduce your stress, will help your health, will give you that sense of, okay, my tank has been filled up again, and I can put myself into the activities that I want to. So this is I'd like to do is a brief self-compassion meditation, and it only takes a few minutes. And starting with this, maybe in the morning, or even ending your day with it, can be a gateway to opening up lots of other stress reducing exercises for yourself. So I invite everyone to close your eyes and slowly breathe in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. Nice and steady. A nice deep inhale. Hold it. And let it go. And now think of a situation in your life that's difficult, that causes you stress. And you choose a problem that's in the mild to moderate range, not a big problem, but we want to build this resource of self-compassion gradually. And so you visualize that situation clearly in your mind's eye. What's the setting? Who's saying what to whom? What's happening? What might happen? Can you feel the discomfort in your body as you bring this difficulty to mind? Maybe you feel your stomach tighten, or your hands get clenched, or maybe your jaw tightens up. Now, say to yourself, either in your mind or out loud, this is a moment of stress. This is hard. I feel overwhelmed. And acknowledge to yourself that stress is a part of life, and it's a part of being human. You can say to yourself, other people feel this way. I'm not alone. and we all struggle in our lives. Now I'd like you to put your hands over your heart. Feel the warmth of your hands and the gentle touch of your hands on your chest. Or hug yourself, give your shoulders a squeeze, whatever gives you comfort. And I'm going to say a few phrases, and after I say each phrase, say it in your mind and let it really settle in and soak in. May I give myself the compassion that I need. May I learn to accept myself as I am right now. May I forgive myself. And may I be patient. If you're having difficulty relating to these words, imagine a dear friend or a loved one who's having the same problem as you. What would you say to this person to help them feel better? What simple message would you want to deliver to your friend, heart to heart? And so I'm interested to hear, what does it feel like to give that support to someone else and then to focus it towards you? How does it feel to direct this sense of acceptance, of love, of forgiveness to yourself? If anybody has any thoughts, I'd be happy to hear them.
I'm not gonna talk this time. I want people to really
Okay.
share their comments here. And in the meantime, we have another comment. It says another control is letting go of learned behavior to create healthy changes in our
Right.
lives.
Absolutely. And that's thinking about long-term. What are long-term things that I can do that become part of my regular day? It could be as simple as exercise. It could be doing a meditation. And what we just did was a guided meditation. It was taking your thoughts somewhere based on what I was telling you. And on YouTube, there are probably millions of guided meditations that you can do. UCLA has a wonderful website of free guided meditations, and they can focus on health, they can focus on relationships, they focus on loving kindness. There's a wonderful Buddhist meditation about loving kindness where you first think about, it's like 4 different phrases. May you feel safe. May you feel peaceful. May you feel healthy. May you be well. And you take those 4 phrases and you first direct them in your mind to someone who you really love. You really, I just love this person to pieces. Then you direct those 4 phrases slowly again to someone who's maybe an acquaintance. Then you direct them to someone who maybe annoys you sometimes. And you get that sensation. What does it feel like to wish good things and peace for someone who kind of gives me some trouble? And then you direct those feelings to the whole world, to all of humanity. And then finally, you direct them to yourselves. May I be safe. May I feel peace. And that's a daily meditation that people really, they start the day with a sense of well-being and positive kind of outlook to everyone else. So something like that, incorporating that into your daily life can make a big difference.
Mhm.
So yeah, I encourage people to, look up meditations if that feels good to you. It's not something everybody likes to do, but it decreases your blood pressure. It improves your immunity. People who meditate regularly, their lipid levels improve, and it also improves immune activity. So many pluses beyond just reducing stress for daily meditation. And so if we can have compassion for ourselves, we can intentionally practice self-care. It can put us in that point of view that I deserve it. I deserve to be cared for. And I'm going to put some coping techniques. Whoops, let me see if I can get this to, there we go. for how to be direct self-compassion during the holidays. And someone just brought up, expectations. And so with the holidays, it can help to lower your expectations. Maybe you really decorate your house, you buy plants and you get a Christmas tree and you get, pictures to hang in the window. Maybe you're going to dial that down a little bit and feel like, if I can just create a little bit of festiveness for this year, always remembering it's for right now. I'm not always going to feel like this, but for right now, it'll help me to do a little less. Another big strategy is letting other people do things for you. And someone else had mentioned, that sense of control. We all want to have control. And if you let other people do things, what part of what is required there is to let go some of that control. And one way that I think it's helpful for people to be able to make that step of I don't have to do everything, is to realize it's a blessing to give someone else an opportunity to help you. You are giving them the opportunity to do some good. And that is one of the, when we talk about people who are depressed, one of the surefire ways to help depression is to help someone else, to get out of your own head, get out of your own stuff, and do something in someone else's world and help them. So by letting go of some of your control and inviting other people in to help you, you're giving them that opportunity to improve their own sense of self, to feel good about doing something for you. So that's, a different way to think about letting go of control. Another strategy is making sure you get some rest in each day. And there's lots of research that shows it doesn't have to be an hour, 20 minutes. If you can rest, if you can take a nap, and that's not, going into deep sleep, just not looking at your phone, not looking at a screen, not taking stimulation in. If you can just sit or lay down and be comfortable, just let your mind drift. Set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes. That can do a lot to recharge you. And that's your body. Your body is not unlimited. Nobody's body is unlimited in the amount of energy it has. So to manage all these things that may be required of you, prioritizing some rest, little pockets here and there when you can. And then finally, another strategy is not making apologies. That, if you're dealing with an illness or if you're taking care of someone, you've got plenty on your plate. If you need to leave a party early, okay, there's no need to have to suggest there's something wrong with you doing so. We never know what's going on in everybody's lives, and everybody's got different needs. So feeling free to set limits and to make your daily life, especially when there's so many activities going on, give yourself permission to pull back from them without having to make excuses or feel like you're doing something wrong. Okay, so let me just get out of here for a second. The next thing that I want to talk about is thinking about how to talk about your illness if you currently are coping with an illness. Because when someone gets a major illness, friends and family find out and they care and they want to know what's going on with you. But sometimes in their mind, that's what you've become. You've become that particular disease, that particular condition, and it's all they ever talk to you about. And that can be exhausting. It can be stressful. It can make you upset. So I'm just wondering if there are any people who are watching right now who has that happened to you, that people start thinking of you in terms of your illness. And if they have.
And Dr. DeLuca, I think that doesn't only happen with illness. Like if you recently had a loss in the family, for example, then people ask you all the time, oh, how are you feeling? Are you okay?
Right.
If you're suffering from an illness, oh, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Instead of asking, how are you?
Right. That you feel you have to respond in those terms. Exactly.
Or, for example, you had a fire in your house, same thing. You know, there are different things that happen that just label the person. And
Right, that's a really good point to make. So, you know, if you're going to be seeing lots of people, you know, during the holidays, it's good to have a strategy beforehand. Think, how much am I comfortable talking about whatever big thing's been going in my life? And if it's not a lot, you can, you know, practice what I call conversation turners. That if someone comes up to you and says, oh, you know, I was so sorry to hear about your loss, and how are you doing? And it's, you know, it's focused in a way that they are expecting you to talk about that loss, and maybe you don't feel like it. You know, you can very briefly say, you know, I've taken every day as I can. I'm doing better. Or if you're not doing better, you know, you can just say, you know, it's okay. It's okay. And then put it back to them. Ask them, so, you know, how's your son doing? I heard blah, blah, blah about him. Or, did you see Helen? Do you see that dress she's got on? You know, anything like that. People will be pulled in. It'll change the topic. They will get to have expressed their concern for you, because it does come out of a concern. They're just not realizing that, you know, at a party, you just don't want to be asked again and again about some difficult things going on in your life. So it can always be helpful to think before, okay, how much do I want to talk about this? And then what are some of the quick ways I can turn the focus around, and just get to more easy topics to get into.
and
Another,
Dr. DeLuca, if you're in the opposite situation, if you're not the person dealing with something, but you're going to approach somebody who's dealing with something, how do you do that? What would be the best way? I think that we all hesitate at some point. I know, for example, when I go to a wake or something, like, yes, everybody says sorry for your loss, but how many people are really sorry? You know, and I kind of feel guilty, like I really need to feel sorry to say sorry. So what do I say? Or if you're gonna meet somebody at a party, and you know that that person hasn't been feeling well, yes, you don't want to overwhelm them with questions, but at the same time, you also don't want to look like you don't care.
right, right. Well, I think asking open-ended questions without any assumptions can be helpful. You know, if you see someone who you know is struggling with something going on in their life, you know, you can greet them, tell them how happy you are to see them. That's, you know, everybody welcomes somebody telling them that. And, you know, you take their cues. Like you said before, you can just, in the more casual way that people do, you know, say how you've been, rather than how are you doing? There's a big difference between that. And
Yeah.
and then, so if it's just the have you been, they've got control. Then they've got the ability to get into the heavy stuff if they want to, and to slide past it. And the thing is, if they slide past it, but you still want to express something when that conversation ends, you can always give a little touch of the arm and say, you know, I'm thinking about you.
Mhm.
Kind of let it go there. It's kind of a lightness, and people will know. They'll have a sense that they're in your thoughts, but maybe they were not ready to talk about it, but you were able to express something that way. Another nice strategy in terms of taking care of yourself, and again, lots of people think this doesn't make sense. It's called tend and befriend in research, because the idea of caring for and having looking after somebody else, you just think, oh my God, is she actually telling me to take care of someone else and that's going to help my stress? No, not exactly that. But if there is someone who's going through something, having a 20-minute phone call with them about what's going on in their life and expressing, you know, not trying to problem solve, but just expressing sadness and validation that, wow, you're really struggling with something right now. That can go a long way. And what's really interesting is that tend and befriending animals is just as helpful for human beings. That, you know, physical affection really helps our level of stress. researchers talk about the 6-second hug, that when you hug someone, hello, it's, just a, how are you, whatever. But when you hold on for 6 seconds, that hug becomes something else. There's something really meaningful there. So if there's someone in your life who you have that kind of connection with, have a hug like that. So, I just want to hold you just for a second here. And that can really bring down a lot of stress. But if you've got, your trusty dog or cat with you sitting on the couch and petting them, it brings your blood pressure down. And not only, it brings the dog's blood pressure down too. It's good for everyone. So tending and befriending is a strategy that helps de-stress us because we're connecting emotionally, either with someone or some animal that we've got, close to us. And that is a way to be compassionate to yourself, because it's giving yourself that extra little bit of comfort. And then, of course, engaging in spirituality, if that's part of your life, if you belong to a community, connecting with those people in the religious community. These days, there could be online services for you to go to if you don't feel comfortable being with, a big group of people inside a church or a synagogue. Lots of religious communities have really responded with online content that they have, these groups and those groups that meet in a Zoom room online, Bible study, reading scripture. If you're someone who prays, prayer can be very comforting. And I do talk to people about prayer in a very particular way when you're struggling with something. And I think the natural tendency is to pray for, please make this stop. I'm struggling. But another kind of prayer that can be really useful are prayers of gratitude. Because when you sit quietly with yourself and you look inside yourself and think, okay, what can I be grateful for? You will eventually find something and you'll build on it. And if you can get to that point to realize, oh, my children are safe and happy, or something else, I have a home that I'm stable and I'm secure in. You can build on those, and feelings of gratitude, that's another really strong stress decreaser. Can be very calming, can be very uplifting. Was there another question?
Yes, actually 2 comments. One says, yes, I just heard about petting your animal and it does decrease your stress and gives pleasure to your pet. And then the next comment is, sometimes it is difficult to relate to others that might be going through the same thing you are experiencing, because everyone internalizes events differently. But if I was to support someone, would remind them that they are special and need to take care in order to move forward one moment at a time. Invite people and events into their lives. This is so much touching home right now.
Right. We have so much isolation, right? Especially with these years of COVID. And that has impacted people. And so that final phrase of inviting people in, even if it's a phone call, if it's a Zoom call, if it's meeting outside, even though it's freezing, there are days when you can go for a walk, as long as you're bundled up. Just that simple kind of contact where you're right, they may be in the same situation you are and are experiencing it differently. Different parts of it are a struggle for them, and some things are easy. There are some people who get chemotherapy and they still exercise regularly. There are people who get chemotherapy who are in bed for days because they're feeling so much pain or nausea. So that's just one example about how it can be so different. And so in that situation, one good guideline is to always keep your conception and your assumptions open about how somebody may be experiencing something, and, let them be your guide for understanding. Be curious, about how they're coping. And one thing that people do say is helpful, rather than just saying, let me know what I can do to help, is, say, well, I'm going to pick up dinner for you. What night this week would be good? and I'm just going to drop it outside the door. I'm not going to, because then people think, oh, I've got to clean up. I've got to be dressed.
I know.
I'm going to drop it outside and I'm going to text you when it's there. What night is good for you? And for someone who resists, being helped, that's not asking them, oh, hey, can I do something for you? Oh, no, I'm fine. That is something really concrete. And it makes it more likely that they're going to say yes and say, oh, well, yeah, so-and-so works late on Thursday. So that could be really helpful.
And we have a new comment. Attitude of gratitude is very comforting for this person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know it sounds kind of, counterintuitive that when things are hard, when we feel bad, when we feel sad, that, the question of like, where can I find gratitude when I'm so unhappy? But for a lot of people, it just takes time to sit quietly and just sort of let the feelings rise up. That pretty much all of us have something in our life that we're grateful for. And once you find that one thing, you can build on it. So thank you to that person for their comment. Sometimes the way we think about problems dictate whether we're stressed out about them. And a crucial element to figure out with struggles and stresses is how much control do we really have? Let me see. There we go. So do you have control or don't you have control? Let's say you've got an obnoxious relative. There's someone who, is an outlaw, not a blood relative, or maybe they are a blood relative, but they like to argue. They're very opinionated. And you just don't feel like dealing with them, but you are going to be, at someone's house when they're going to be. That's an example of, something you can't control. That person's going to be there. So what are your options? You are free to go. You are not, you can go for an hour, make an appearance. And if it's too much, you can just say, you know what, I'm going to get going. This has been enough for me today. Thank you so much for inviting me. Or you can try to get around it. Maybe there's another relative you can have conversation with to sort of block. And then there's always accepting reality. I've been told that dealing with really difficult relatives, you can just imagine there's a Post-it note on their head that says crazy person. And don't expect for what they say to be logical or that you should really engage in. They may say something that you really disagree with, but it's not going to go anywhere. And so what you can do is just go, really? Interesting. Like you don't have to dive in and engage with it. And, if you have no control, if you are absolutely going to be stuck, you can do things like breathing exercises that nobody can see. You can just sit quietly, maybe even just lower your eyes a little bit and start doing 1, 2, 3, 4 inhales, hold it for 4 and let it go. And nobody can see that you're doing that. Or I know when I've been in a situation like that, I go to the bathroom and I sit down and I just sort of rub my head for a little while. I get a little bit of an escape. And so you can slip in those little strategies when you're stuck, and that's it. But what can you do when you have control? Say, okay, I usually have 15 people for Thanksgiving. I've always loved just a huge, boisterous, busy Thanksgiving, but I am exhausted. I cannot do it. I'm struggling with it. What should I do? And who's going to be disappointed? And I'm going to be so disappointed. So you have control over what happens here. Take a piece of paper, list what are the possible solutions. Could be inviting less people. What are the circumstances? What are the consequences of each? Maybe you're thinking, if I don't invite these 4 people, there's going to be some terrible hurt feelings. What's a different solution? Well, if I can afford it, maybe I can take food in. Maybe I can make it a potluck. Maybe I can have everybody bring a dish. And so I can still have all those people, but it'll be a much less stressful day for me. And think about what solutions feel like they're in line with your values, what you find most important. And then the losses that you may have to accept, try to get comfortable with those, in a sense of, like I said before, if things have to change, maybe it's just this year that they have to change. And the next big holiday, I'll have more energy, or that maybe it's got to change now, and that's okay. I can, it's disappointing, but I accept it, that this is how my life needs to be right now. It doesn't mean I have no people. It doesn't mean I don't have no holiday celebration. Just, it's going to be different. And I will invest in the parts of it that make me feel good. And then stick to it, carry out your plan, feel confident in it, that you've sat down and figured out what works for you. Okay. So when we do feel stressed out, let me, I can stop the time share now. That's screen share. Being stressed, how does it feel to your body when you are thinking, there's 10 things I need to do now and I cannot get them done? What does that feel like in your body? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Physical symptoms.
Stomachache, headache.
Yep, your stomach gets all tight, right? In your jaw. People don't realize how much stress we have in our jaws. We know we get stress headaches. Where do they come from? From being like this.
Yeah.
Because
shoulders, right? You feel
right up here
so
in the shoulders, because we go up, we're clenched, your whole body is tight. Absolutely. Muscle tension. Your breathing might become rapid. You start like feeling your heartbeat in your stomach. You ever get that? You're like, oh my God, wow, I feel this throb in my stomach. And so it's a lot of physical elements to it. So one way to release the tension is called progressive muscle relaxation. And it's slowly going through groups of muscles in your body and doing a tensed up stance and then letting it go. And the doing of that has two advantages. One, the letting go part releases some of that tension, releases that tightness that's in the muscles. But the second advantage is it starts getting you familiar with that position. So if during the day you start to notice, oh, I'm all clenched up, I should let it go. And that's going to help you feel less stressed throughout the day. So I'm going to do a little, just a short progressive muscle relaxation exercise with everyone. And again, this is something you can find in many different forms on YouTube. There are ones that take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, slowly goes through, they might have you raising your eyebrows and letting them down, really every muscle group. This is a very brief one. So I invite you to, again, sit back, get comfortable, close your eyes if that's what's comfortable for you. And we're going to begin. As always, these exercises, it helps to take a deep breath and notice that air filling your lungs as deep as you can and hold it. When just in that exhale, feel the tension leaving your body. Take another breath, slowly in for 4, 1. Hold it. And let it go. Feel that tension. Now you're going to move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes in the arch of your foot. Hold on to that tension just for a few seconds. Notice what it feels like. And now uncurl it. Let it go. Release the tension in your foot and notice that new feeling of relaxation. Now begin to focus on your lower legs. Tense your calf muscles as if you were going to be climbing stairs. Hold them tightly. Pay attention to that feeling. And then release. Let the legs become comfortable. Notice that feeling of relaxation and continue to slowly breathe in and breathe out while you're doing it. Now, tense the muscles of your upper leg and your pelvis. And you can do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel the tightness without taking it to strain. And then release. Feel the tension leaving your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Hold your stomach in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let it out now. Release that tension. Let your body go limp. Notice yourself feeling the sense of relaxation. Continue taking deep breaths. Breathe in slowly. Filling the air in your lungs and holding it. Letting that tension go. Now, tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulder legs together, your shoulder blades. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining. And then let them go. Then relax. Notice again how different your body feels when you let it relax. And now tense your arms up all the way from your hands to your shoulders. Make a fist and squeeze all the way up to arm and hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then relax it. Feel the tension drip out your fingers. Go down your arm and just ease on their way out. Notice the goodness of having limp arms, how loose and comfortable that feels. Now move up to your neck and head. Tense your face and neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes. You can kind of make a face like something is you just tasted is tart and yucky. Just squish up your face and hold that. Hold it for a few seconds. And then let it go back to normal. Feel that tension that might have been in the temples, in the jaw, all of these, especially around the ear, when you've got those tight, that really can give you a tension headache. So to notice that and let it go, that's a good thing. Now let your whole body just go limp. Feel your feet flat on the floor, your arms in your lap, your jaw open, your face relaxed. Begin to wake up your body by slowly moving your muscles around. You can adjust your arms and legs and open your eyes when you're ready. So we went through several different strategies to try to help you cope with some holiday stress, how to change your activities. You can do things like using music. You can go for a walk. You can do some self-compassion meditations, do loving kindness meditations or progressive muscle relaxation, just like we did. You can relate to people. You can help someone. You can sit and pet your dog. So there's lots of options out there. Something psychology's gotten very good at is helping people cope with feeling stressed and anxiety. When stress does build up to the point that it is anxiety and it feels a little bit overwhelming, that's the time to look for extra help. And let me just share my screen one more time. Whoops, there we go. There's a variety of places you can start with. You can talk to your own doctor or go see a psychiatrist or psychologists. Licensed social workers or mental health counselors do counseling. And, you know, there's a variety of techniques that can help with anxiety that has just gotten too much when you're just spending a lot of the day worrying about things. There's medications, and there's also psychotherapy, talking to someone every week, and really treating anxiety is one of the big success stories of psychology. There are techniques out there that can help you. And for people who think, oh, those medications, I don't want that stuff in my body. If you had diabetes and you needed insulin to regulate your blood sugar, you would take it. And if there's a medication that could help you regulate your emotions when they just feel too hard, I think of that in the same way. So when things get to be too much, reach out for help. There are crisis lines or New York State crisis lines that can help you immediately. And then starting with your physician can always be a good place to get referrals. And I am a practicing mental health counselor. If you are interested in getting some help, here's my basic information. If you're interested, I work at a practice that is on Long Island, but I mostly do virtual therapy. So you can be living anywhere in New York, and we accept most insurance plans. So you've got my basic information there. And thank you for having me today.
Dr. DeLuca, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And it was very relaxing. I kept opening my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to fall asleep right now. So thank you so much for this. We still have like 3 to 4 minutes. So if there are any questions from our participants, please send them now. Don't leave today with questions, because Dr. DeLuca knows really how to explain things. And I think every situation that you touched on today was right on point. People who are not feeling well, people who are caregivers, people who don't like the people that they need to hang around with, right? Like, thank you so much. Because as somebody put it there, the holidays should be a happy event. And sometimes they turn out to be all the opposite because of all the stress that we are at. And it shouldn't be that way. We're getting one comment. Thank you so much for all the good tips.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure.
Well, in the meantime, let me tell you, next week, we're going to have treatment options for patients living with inflammatory bowel disease. So we're going to have a doctor that is affiliated with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation that is going to be here talking to us. Also, it has to do with the holidays, because we eat so much during the holidays and we don't want to get an upset stomach. So join us for that next week. Do you have another comment? Thank you. Can you share with me a tip on how to deal with the fact that your siblings are not supporting you after a loss of a child?
That is a really big topic to hit at 12:57. Gosh, you know what? Sometimes we have to rely on our chosen family over our blood family. And this may be one of those situations that, first I want to say, I'm so sorry that you're not getting supported by your family. But if you have friends in your life who get what's happened to you, you may want to, rely on them. Also, certainly getting some support from a therapist can be helpful in terms of coping with a loss like that. But I'm so sorry that your siblings are not there for you.
Yeah, I think it's again going to the topic of control, right? Like, we don't have control about how other people can help us or react to a situation we're going through, but we do have the control, as you just said, Dr. DeLuca, to see where we look for help and support. So keep that in mind. Well, I don't see nothing else happening here. So, one last minute comment. I have chosen not to read social media platforms to feel less anxiety or stress, and this has been helpful. Very good. I don't do TikTok at all. I don't watch the news. Makes me sick. I only read what I want to read.
Right. Limiting social media is an excellent idea, I think, on any day. It's just too much. The world is just full of too much, and people can be really show-offy, and it seems unreal how fabulous the lives of other people seem. And you have no idea what's going behind that, picture of someone in a bathing suit in Florida, what else is really happening in their life. And it's so easy to look at it and think, oh, and why is everybody else's life perfect but not mine? So yeah, limiting social media, I think, is a very healthy choice.
Yeah, well, and you have the downers too, right? The ones that complain about everything and everything is bad and yeah.
Right, the news can be too much too. Yeah, I definitely, I have clients that I say, okay, 20 minutes a day of news and that's it. That
Yeah.
is it.
Well,
Know what
thank,
important thing happened.
yeah, well, thank you so much, Dr. DeLuca. It's been a pleasure being with you today. And who wants Dr. DeLuca back? I know all of us do that. I do want that. So I'll be reaching out again to see if you can help us in the future with another talk.
Absolutely, I would love to. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much for everyone. And they are saying, yes, come back again. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. If I don't see you, although I hope to see you at another community chat before the holidays, happy holidays to all of you. And we mean it, happy.
Yes, yes. Hope everyone's holiday is what they want it to be.
Perfect. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.